It's Spoilerin time, the show that is birthed from the forehead of Cordkillers, like Athena from Zeus, allowing us to talk about things we've watched because we've done so much on the other show to figure out how to watch them. And now we've watched them and we get to talk about them. This week we're talking about Bodyguard episodes 3 through 6, Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency, episode 1 of season 2. I'm Tom Merritt. And with me to talk about all of this is Brian Brushwood.
Heck yes, but first, we got to check in on the winter movie draft. I did good. I saved
Mother
it.
Winter.
I saved it.
Sounds like a character from a Rankin Bass. I am in first. The movie draft should end right now.
How
please.
are you still in first?
It's a battle of the Grinch and Ralph Breaks the Internet right now. Justin has surged into third place when Ralph Breaks the Internet won the weekend again. And now it's all about whether the Grinch can keep powering me in front, which it can't. I'm not deluding myself.
I don't know,
but,
man.
Could I make it another week? Yeah, maybe.
But the Grinch is directly tied to the Christmas holiday, and I feel like as we get closer, more and more people are going to keep wanting to go see the Grinch, whereas there's not a lot tying Ralph to that family ritual for a lot of folks.
Yeah, but then Justin also has Bumblebee.
Oh, yeah, no. You're about to lose, and Justin's going to be in front.
Yeah, we don't have any movies out this week. It's next week, Mortal Engines and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which will, I don't know about Mortal Engines, but Spider-Man will definitely put John Trekker, floating back up out of last place. They've just been sort of skulking down there.
Dude, the reviews, now that the embargo is lifted on Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, have been insane. Peter Cerreta at Slash Film was saying it's flat out the best Spider-Man anything, full stop. I am so unbelievably excited for this. And I think I forget which show I mentioned it on. This is one where my excitement for the Spider-Man franchise getting a good outlet of its creative energy trumps my desire to win the game. If this thing blowing up and making all the money is yes, collateral damage is John Trekker wins, but hooray, we have another Spider-Man franchise that we're all really excited about.
Well, the interesting thing is they have Spider-Man and Aquaman, then Glass and Serenity, but right now they've only got $35 million in the bank. So, I'm not saying they can't win. They absolutely can, but it's not, it's not foreordained because you've got Justin out there with Bumblebee, and Justin has got $244 million in the bank.
Yeah. Also, I'm at 435. I still have 3 movies to come out. Second act, Holmes and Watson and Vice. I don't think it's unreasonable to look for a $150 to $250 million payout between those 3. Also, full disclosure, my stated strategy was just to outbid constantly John Trekker by $1, and he denies it. But I think John Teasdale was a little bit flustered in the heat of the moment because it was messing up all of his plans.
Now they got Spider-Man and Aquaman, which also has really strong positive reactions online.
Yeah,
about it being a very fun, dumb.
People are saying it's
movie.
the funnest, it's the most fun, including Wonder Woman or any of those.
Right.
Of all the DC
plus
recents.
If Glass does good, like he's got a strong couple weeks coming up.
They do.
Yeah,
they do.
I know Welcome to Marwen's going to be a secret hit. So
if you see just one movie,
please only see one movie. All right, let's talk about our Bodyguard second half. We talked about the first couple episodes in a couple weeks ago, and now we're going to finish it all up. How do you feel now that you finished it all, Brian?
Thrilled with the series as a whole. I thought it was fantastic. I think that midway bombshell of having the love interest disintegrate along with the face of the female lead and having her actually die was really bold. It led me to a place where I believed it when he made the suicide attempt and was for a brief second like legit horrified. And I think they did a fine job of explaining about the blanks and that he didn't know that he was not going to be able to commit suicide. Truthfully, like I remember back in Boy Scouts, they showed us they took a soda can and they took a 357 or something with a blanks in it, and man, oh man, blank or no blank, point blank range, you're gonna not just have a few flecks of metal shavings in your head. You're gonna be a little bit dead. But look, everything was great. There's only one scene I really have a beef with, and it undercuts what I think was one of the strongest parts of this entire series. I don't normally notice these things. Upon my rewatching of the first episode, I realized that all the characters with any power at all happen to be female, and I thought that was very cool. I thought that it was very cool that they didn't put a sign on that. I thought it was very empowering. I liked the fact over the course of the entire show, you had a wide spectrum of empowerment among women, ranging at the low end from the wife who was clearly in an abusive relationship and was very young, because they indicate that she had an adult advocate, and it's like, oh, this is somebody under the age of 18 who has been, manipulated and driven into strapping on a bomb at the behest of her misogynistic husband. It was great, the fact that there was so much power in females' hands. And it was great because it acknowledged that there are some women who aren't given the chance to have power in their hands. And then they undercut all of that message with a completely unnecessary and completely story-breaking, sinister, end of a Twilight Zone, gotcha cackling witch moment of where she randomly says, I'm the mastermind, and you're a bunch of big dumb men who can't believe that a girl can be smart. And I was like, sons of bitches, all of this shit worked because you trusted us to figure it out, and we believe you, and we went along for the ride. And now you have to undercut all of that with this heavy-handed message that I hated it. I hated that moment, Tom. It didn't ruin the series for me, but it was completely unnecessary, completely undercut what was great about that series, and accomplished nothing.
Yeah, I don't entirely agree, but I don't entirely disagree with you. I found the pulling off the mask moment in relation to the rest of the series clumsily done. It was not something that I, like most things, I went, oh, I missed that. Yes, they pointed to that early on, right? It felt like a cheat. It felt like we have entirely withheld information from you. I think the reason for it is she withheld information from them. You had all the information the investigators did. This could happen. And it could, but I did feel like I was a little ripped off. I didn't feel like I didn't have the extent of the reaction that you did as far as undermining. I wasn't mad. I just felt like, oh, that's a little harder for me to swallow that there wouldn't have been any indication of that at any point. She's a little bit too perfect in telling them that. I also didn't believe that she was actually telling them the truth even at that point either. That maybe she was put in a position where she could reveal that in order to have some other ends. Not that she wasn't smart or a mastermind, but that there are probably other operators as well. The thing I still like about it is the sort of like using the stereotypes and prejudices of people to undermine them is a cool trope, right? That's a good storytelling device of like, oh, I also fell into that gap of not properly understanding that this could happen. I'd feel it worked better if there was something along the way that you could say, but if I had been paying attention closer, I would have realized that this was possible. And instead, I don't feel, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I missed it, I don't feel they gave you any of those hooks and in fact misled you, not just played on your prejudices.
That's a really good point. There's two angles to approach this. One, you're right. I think there was a complete lack of hints that this was there in front of you. As Teller wrote me all those years ago, the heart of all great theater is surprise me, put two and two in front of me, convince me it's five, and then reveal the truth it's four, and you have surprise. There was none of that in this case, but more importantly,
there was a little bit. She did know about the school and the child. Like that was part of the reveal, was that she was the source of that information about his personal information about his kid.
Okay, fair enough, but we also had satisfactory answers for all of those up until then.
We didn't, because we only assumed it would be a police informant, and that was still a question up until.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess I was satisfied with it just, vaguely being a police informant. But more important to me is, what is her motivation to, as careful as they have been about what the solicitor says they should and shouldn't do, the solicitor is just like totally cool with her admitting to no benefit whatsoever. Yeah. She has no leverage. She gives up all her leverage. She ensures that she'll spend the rest of her life behind bars for nothing. And it wasn't even like he got her goat and that she couldn't help herself and then had to say it. It was time, for the Scooby-Doo ending, and it just felt beneath this program.
I think that's the thing that really bothered me, because if you're a terrorist, you don't care about losing your immunity, right? You don't care about bad plea bargain or whatever. You don't care about any of that. What you care about is causing havoc, causing fear. I don't think that her reveal does that.
Agreed.
I just don't think, because it doesn't leave that room, right? So it doesn't suddenly be like, we've now terrorized the populace because they realized that small women could also be horrible terrorists. It doesn't have any repercussions. I don't think she would, as a good strategy, reveal that at that point. And I think that was the part that bothered me, is like, but wait, what? Why? Even if she wants to undermine, she can undermine more by not telling them that.
Well, and you could have, think about this. They could have done like a Psycho thing where it's like, they finish the interview and they walk off confused, like, well, I guess, man, we can't do it. And then she turns and says to one of the other prisoners, just like, these fools, these whatevers, these blah. Like, even that, right. I could have been on board.
It sounds cheesy thinking about it that way, but you're right. Like that would have preserved her motivation for sure.
Right. But instead they sort of did a world-breaking thing. Yeah.
It's the exception that proves the rule, though, because I can see this particular scenario in another series not sticking out so much and being like, oh, that was a little weird, but whatever. This series is so watertight all the way through that any leak is going to feel like a flood.
Yep. I do agree with that for sure.
What did you guys think about that really great action sequence? Just that last episode of him getting the bomb strapped on and then having to do the entire tightrope act of traversing the whole the city to like prove his innocence, not die at any given moment.
It was pretty good. Yeah, I found myself in that frustration. Well, I don't know. A pendulum starts to swing and it swings wilder and wilder as you get to the end of the story. And so things move faster and faster. It was right at the very fringe of what I was willing to accept. And
like craziness?
Yeah. Just slightly wackier, faster than I would have liked. But I don't know it's not like I have a clear prescription of what they should have changed,
Yeah. No, there's a minor feeling in me that, they're like, we've got to keep them away from buildings until later. They're like, you can be by this building. No, that's fine.
Yeah. I did like that moment where, his wife, what did you think about the abrupt, I don't know, maybe we can date now that you're seeing a therapist at the end? Were you okay with that? Or was that too precious?
It felt a little Stockholm syndrome-y. It didn't bother me, but it felt like, ooh, that's a complicated reaction. Like that's a good season 2 exploration being set up right there. Is like, why is she feeling this way? I don't think it's just, it's all happy endings now. You're going to get therapy and we've saved the world. We can all live happily ever after. It felt like, I went through this horrible thing with you and now my feelings are being projected back upon you, which is probably unhealthy.
Yeah. Regardless, man, what a worthy watch. It's so good. It's so very good. Highly recommended.
Yeah. Let's talk about the season opener of season 2 of Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency.
Oh boy, not what I was expecting. I thought that we had everything laid out at the end of season 1. Like, okay, this is the angle they're going to go with. Then they spent the first 10 minutes saying, hello, let us make it abundantly clear that whatever you thought was going to happen is not what's going to happen.
I was I literally was not sure I had started the wrong video, the right video.
Yeah, I did
right?
the same thing. I had to stop it and double check.
I also knew I had, so I'm like, this is silly, but
it was like,
the wrong video get served, maybe? No. Yeah.
Even for Dirk Gently, it was so far out of left field. Bryce, so the opening thing, it takes place in a fantasy wonderland.
Okay.
And
now this is a modern day show,
correct,
right? Okay.
Correct. It all takes place in like modern day Seattle or wherever, right?
Yeah.
And then opening scene is dudes. What was it? What did they fight at the beginning? Fantasy setting, giant pink hair. Dude pulls out a sword that is a pair of shears.
Okay.
And they fight with swords, and then they clip off others' fingers with it, and then like they're fighting, and then suddenly they're kissing, and it's like, go, my love. Two dudes, and it's like, get the message, and then they're like, oh, it's the something. It might as well have been a live action Adventure Time.
Okay.
Like just picture live action Adventure Time.
Sure,
it was
sure.
just missing a few cupcakes.
Did that play into the rest of the story of the episode?
Not that we were
Not
given.
really.
It was just a standalone thing,
Okay.
and then credits roll for Dirk Gently's holistic.
Well, they
detective
mentioned Dirk
agency.
Gently's name, right?
That's right.
At the
That's how
very
you
end of
knew
the-
you were watching
what
the
I
right
assume
show.
is meant to be a dream sequence, right? Because like, swords that turn into scissors, and like it's all very like, oh, this is dream logic world. Because at first I'm like, are these LARPers that are going to play into the story in some way? But I think it was just because we do get a second dream sequence later in the episode.
Well, and you do,
But that's not the whole episode.
well, yeah, you also
No.
get hints like cloud formations are like giant. There's a giant moon and stuff. Like there's fantastical elements that tell you this can't be taking place in our real world. But that last moment as he sends him off, he's like, go find him. And then very clearly, find Dirk Gently, credits roll.
Huh.
And then you spend the rest of the time in normal world, but there's a magic wand and a chick who turns out to be the chosen one for the wand.
Wait, refresh my memory on the wand.
You remember in the real world, thugs kick in the door of there's a mom and a kid, and there's a dispute. The kid's a piece of crap. He's throwing firecrackers into the car.
Right.
She's trying to she's trying to make ends meet.
She goes to work, and her boss gets killed
right in front of her by
a guy we
thugs.
saw briefly earlier in the episode.
Yeah, and then like she's like, oh my God, this is the part where they're gonna murder me, and they're like, do the thing, like the guy said, and so he pulls out a toy wand and then says, whatever, like kilo, and then nothing happens. And he's like, this is dumb. He's like, I'm just gonna put a bullet in her head, and then holistic coincidences happen, and then suddenly she grabs the wand and says, kilo or whatever, and it works, and it blasts away the thug. So like, I guess suddenly magic is a thing in the real world in this world.
I have a feeling this is going to prove to be connected to the research project somehow, right? Not saying it's not magic-y, but I think we're supposed to be like, well, wait a minute, where does this come from? And then it's gonna be related. And maybe that dream sequence plays into it somehow later on, because that was kind of a magic-y world too. Maybe the guy who's dreaming, because there's a guy asleep in the hospital, the prison hospital that Dirk Gently's in.
Oh, that's interesting. So you think all of that is in his?
Maybe it's taking place in his.
Yeah. So then they come up with like, it was a quantum device controlled by this guy's mind, and
something like that.
Because he's in a fantasy dream, that's why it manifests as this wand.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I can see that. I do enjoy the exploration of Project Omega and the dunce Captain America. He looks an awful lot like Chris Evans. He looks not like a not bright Chris Evans.
He is. He's like a younger, less bright, and sort of cartoonishly looking Chris Evans.
Yeah. But I think they've done a good job of shaking everything up and making me say, hey, forget about last season. This is this season. It's like they slapped me across the face. It's like, pay attention, bro. Let's go.
Yeah. They need to find Dirk Gently. That's what Todd is up to. Amanda still doesn't trust him. She's still running with the Rowdy 3.
Only I love the fact that it's just as wrong a moniker, but for a different reason now.
Yes. So yeah, I'm in. I'm all in. I'm excited to take this adventure here.
Yep, I'm digging it.
Well, thanks everybody for taking this adventure with us as well. You get these episodes earlier, as well as our love and affection and a free bonus after talk show if you support us on Patreon at patreon.com/Cordkillers. We'll talk to you again next time.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.